Last year I did a video where I collected most of the important literary awards for books printed in English, and since we now have heard who has won what in 2024, I will do it again. The long lists of awards are, for me, basically a suggestion what I could read, and they often give me hints, they give me titles that I may not have taken notice of. A lot of booktubers are longing for Booker season, when the most prestigious of all awards in the bookish world out there publish its long list, and then they sort of drop everything else for weeks and months and read literally all 13 books of the so-called Booker dozen. I would never do that. I have never done that in my life because I've never seen a long list where I thought that every single book was worthwhile reading or was sort of piquing my interest, that I needed to see it, that I needed to read it. Booker Booktube generates a lot of clicks on videos and a lot of comments and creates a community like no other one here on Booktube. However, it feels a little bit like the industry dictates us what to do and what to read, and that the community here becomes an easy and not expensive tool or asset for spreading the information, spreading the word, and increasing, of course, the sales and the bonus. And one more, however, awards are fun. We all like winners, although it's enormously difficult to compare books and establish scientific criteria, which doubtlessly enables jurors to rank literary work. The award that leads to even more sales than the Booker is an award that will be presented as of tomorrow, just a few underground or subway stations away from here, Farstastrand, where I live. I would not have to change trains, actually, and could take the Green Line and get off at Hötorget. There, in the beautiful Konserthuset, the Stockholm Concert Hall, with its trademark blue facade, the now 78-year-old King Carl XVI Gustav of Sweden will hand this year's Nobel Prize for Literature, or the World Championship of Fictional Books, to the South Korean author Han Kan. The Nobel Prize, or Nobel Prize, is kind of a lifetime achievement award, and each year the jury navigates between sexes and continents and ends up mostly giving the prize to European white males after all. But this time an Asian woman gets it. Han Kan receives the honor, but also 914,000 American dollars or 789,000 British pounds. Very impressive, right? The Nobel Prize is particularly interesting since Han Kan received it exactly 1 week after the South Korean president Yoon Suk Yeol announced martial law in the country and apparently tried to stage a coup and end democracy. Yoon Suk Yeol is extremely unpopular, is an anti-feminist, and favors the New Right movement. Well, martial law in South Korea was announced and only hours later withdrawn by parliament. The checks and balances worked in that country, and today I hear in the news that there will be consequences for those people who were involved in trying to turn back the clock in South Korea. The Nobel Prize was mentioned, so let's go on with more awards of 2024. Let's do this. The PEN/Faulkner Award 2024 went to What Happened to Ruthie Ramirez by Claire Jimenez. In 1996, 13-year-old Ruthie Ramirez vanished after track practice, leaving her Puerto Rican family in Staten Island devastated. 12 years later, her sisters Jessica and Nina believe they spotted Ruthie on a reality TV show called Catfight, where a contestant named Ruby bears a striking resemblance to their sister. Convinced that Ruby is Ruthie, the sisters, along with their mother Dolores, embark on a road trip to Boston to find her. The novel delves into themes of grief, identity, and the complexities of familial bonds, offering a poignant and at times humorous approach and portrayal of a family's quest for closure. The Pulitzer Prize went to a novel called Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips, a beautifully rendered novel set in West Virginia's Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in the aftermath of the Civil War, where a severely wounded Union veteran, a 12-year-old girl, and her mother, long abused by a Confederate soldier, struggle to heal. I remember reading Machine Dreams by Jane Ann Phillips, which was published in 1984, but was not particularly interested in reading Night Watch, and I probably won't do if you don't tell me that it's absolutely necessary to do so in the comments down below, and you also subscribe to the channel, please, while you listen to the next book. The Pulitzer for nonfiction went to A Day in the Life of Abed Salama, Anatomy of a Jerusalem Tragedy by Nathan Thrall. This book recounts the harrowing experience of Abed Salama, a Palestinian father, as he searches for his 5-year-old son Milad following a devastating school bus accident near Jerusalem in 2012. The narrative delves into the systemic challenges faced by Palestinians under Israeli occupation, highlighting how bureaucratic obstacles and infrastructural segregation exacerbate personal tragedies. Through this poignant story, Thrall examines the broader socio-political landscape, offering a profound commentary on the complexities of life in the region that is suffering so much right now. In April is also the month when the Edgar Allan Poe Awards are handed over, and this year the prize for the best novel went to Flags on the Bayou by James Lee Burke. Set in Louisiana toward the end of the Civil War, remember Jane and Phillips, Louisiana is largely under Union control with bands of marauding Confederate soldiers roaming around. An enslaved woman is accused of murdering her plantation owner. She escapes from prison with a schoolteacher. Urgent, propulsive story steeped in his deep personal connections to Louisiana, said one reviewer about this book. Let's go to Australia. The Stella Prize went to Praiseworthy by Alexis Wright. Cosman Steele lives in the northern Australian town of Praiseworthy and sees the end of the world coming. He rounds up all the donkeys, believing that they will be important when civilization collapses. A book made of beautiful, mutable and playful language, designed to be enjoyed. That's what it was blurbed. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? The next title, the next award, was another one in the crime world. It went to The Gold Dagger for Best Novel. That went to Tell Me What I Am by Una Manian. It follows the aftermath of Dina Garvey's 2004 disappearance in Philadelphia. Her sister, Nessa, suspects Dina's ex-husband Lucas, while Dina's daughter, Ruby, grows up under his oppressive care in rural Vermont. Over 14 years, Nessa seeks the truth, and Ruby unravels family secrets. The novel explores themes of domestic abuse, resilience, and the enduring impact that loss can have on people and families. One award where they give a lot of money, actually, and it's a very democratic award, I think, because the juries are all libraries in the world, is the Dublin Literary Award. It went to Solnoid by Mircea Cătărescu, translated from the Romanian by Sean Cutter. A surreal and introspective novel following an unnamed Romanian teacher who abandons his dream of becoming a writer. Living in a boat-shaped house in Bucharest, he discovers a mysterious solenoid beneath it that opens portals to alternate dimensions and extraordinary experiences. Blending fantasy, autobiography, and philosophy, reviewers have praised the book that I'm not very much interested in, but I think it's great. The International Booker Prize went to Kairos by Jenny Appenbeck, translated from the German by Michael Hoffmann. A destructive affair between a young woman and an older man in 1980s East Berlin, with the two lovers seemingly embodying East Germany's crushed idealism. A meditation on hope and disappointment, Kairos poses complex questions about freedom, loyalty, love, and power between the sexes. In May, the Jen Medlicott Acorn Prize for Fiction, from New Zealand, went to Lioness by Emily Perkins. From humble beginnings, Therese has let herself grow used to a life of luxury after marrying into an empire-building family. But when rumors of corruption gather around her husband's latest development, the social opprobrium is shocking. The fallout is swift, and Therese begins to look at her privileged and insular world with new eyes. That is New Zealand's most prestigious prize. The Women's Prize for Fiction this year went to Brotherless Night by Vivi Ganeshananthan. This beautifully written story follows Sashi, a 16-year-old aspiring doctor growing up in Jaffna in the 1980s. Her close family is torn apart by the onset of civil war. Brotherless Night vividly and compassionately centers itself around erased and marginalized stories. Tamil women, students, teachers, ordinary civilians exploring the moral nuances of violence and terrorism against the backdrop of oppression and exile. For the first time, the Women's Prize for Nonfiction was awarded this year, and the inaugural version went to Doppelganger, A Trip into the Mirror World by Naomi Klein. This work examines the phenomenon of being mistaken for fellow author Naomi Wolf, using this confusion as a lens to explore themes of identity, political polarization, and the spread of conspiracy theories in contemporary society. It delves into the concept of the doppelganger to analyze how digital culture and misinformation contribute to a fragmented public discourse. Very interesting that the word doppelganger from German went into English that smoothly and easily. The Orwell Prize was awarded in June, and it went to a very highly nominated book this year, My Friends by Hisham Matar, a novel exploring the fallout of the 1984 shootings at the Libyan embassy in London and its effect on three friends. The quietness of the prose belies the event's traumatic drama and its profound personal and political repercussions. The style is old-fashioned, genteel almost, and authentic to the point of reading like the most exquisite memoir. A warm and extraordinarily clear-sighted novel that is in part about the power of the literary word to effect real-world change. Now it's July, and in July they give the second version, they always have two editions, of the Japanese Akutagawa Prize, and this is the more interesting one. It went to Tokyo to Doyoto by Kudan Ri, not translated yet, but it will be translated. And another Japan, where Zaha's National Stadium has been completed, and the theory of tolerance has taken hold, a new prison, Sympathy Tower Tokyo, is to be built. Sara Makina, an architect who has no tolerance for criminals, powerfully pursues her future while struggling with a disconnect between her work and her beliefs. A book of prophecy in the age of generative AI that exposes the relationship between loose words and fruitless justice with rich froth. It will soon be translated into English and hopefully appear next year in our bookshops. Well, bookshops, book, the Booker Prize, the greatest of them all, went to Orbital by Samantha Harvey. 6 astronauts rotate in their spacecraft above the Earth. They are there to collect meteorological data, conduct scientific experiments, and test the limits of the human body. But mostly they observe. Together they watch their silent blue planet circling it 16 times, spinning around and around past continents and cycling through seasons, taking in glaciers and deserts, the peaks of mountains and the swells of oceans. Endless shows of spectacular beauty witnessed in a single day. Beautifully written, but a little bit boring in my eyes. The National Book Award. I'm so happy about the National Book Award this year because maybe the best book of the year won, James by Percival Everett. A masterful modern retelling of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn out of the perspective of the slave Jim. Percival Everett's best book yet, and something that blew me away, and a lot of you too, I know. National Book Award for Nonfiction went to Soldiers and Kings, Survival and Hope in the World of Human Smuggling by Jason De Leon. Based on 7 years of ethnographic research across Mexico and Honduras, De Leon provides an intimate, character-driven exploration of human smuggling, focused on the lives of coyotes, the smugglers who guide migrants through perilous journeys toward the United States. The narrative centers on one coyote's attempt to leave the smuggling trade after falling in love, offering a nuanced portrayal of individuals often depicted as mere criminals. The book delves into the socio-economic and political factors that drive both smugglers and migrants, challenging prevailing stereotypes and highlighting the complexities of clandestine migration. That was the winner of the National Book Award for Nonfiction. The Scotiabank Giller Prize will go to Canada. Held by Anne Michaels, was the winner. The narrative begins in 1917 on a World War I battlefield near the River Escaut, where British soldier John lies injured, reflecting on his wife Helena and his past. After the war, John returns to North Yorkshire, reopening his photography studio with Helena. Their lives intertwine with those of their descendants, exploring themes of love, trauma, and memory across 4 generations. The novel's fragmented structure moves between different time periods and perspectives, delving into the profound impacts of history and personal experiences. I did not like it. I know a lot of you did. But it won one of the greatest awards. We go to France. The Prix Goncourt went to Ouris by Kamel Daoud. This tells the story of Aoube, a young Algerian woman who survived the country's civil war in the 1990s. After a brutal attack that left her mute, Aoube communicates with her unborn daughter, sharing her experiences and the collective trauma that she has experienced and all her countrymates of a nation reluctant to confront its past. The novel delves into themes of memory, silence, and the struggle for recognition of victims' suffering, and it's not yet translated into English. I hope it will, of course. Number 19 of all the prizes of this year is the Governor General's Literary Awards, again, Canada. Here it goes to Empty Spaces by Jordan Abel. This book reimagines James Fenimore Cooper's 1826 novel, The Last of the Mohicans. Hello, Jim. Hello, James. From the perspective of a contemporary urban Nisga's individual whose connection to ancestral lands and traditions has been disrupted by colonial violence. Through innovative narrative techniques, including the manipulation of found materials and eschewing a traditional human protagonist, Abel centers the land itself as a character, exploring its consciousness and memory. The novel delves into themes of indigenous identity, displacement, and the enduring impact of colonialism, offering a profound meditation on the relationship between people and the land. We go to England again. The Baillie Gifford Prize for Nonfiction, I think it's last but not least, went to Question 7 by Richard Flanagan. The book delves into Flanagan's family background. It's kind of a memoir, particularly his father's experiences as a Japanese prisoner of war during World War II, and intertwines these with events like the development of the atomic bomb and also the relationship between H.G. Wells and Rebecca West. Through this tapestry, Flanagan examines themes of memory, trauma, and the interplay between personal and collective histories. Well, these were 20 of the awards of 2024, actually 20 plus 1 with a Nobel Prize, which will be handed out tomorrow. So I will be in town tomorrow. Maybe I take a look if I can see the King or the Queen of Sweden or the Crown Princess at the Konserthuset, because I work only like a couple of 100 meters away from there. But nevertheless, I will be continuing making videos for a while at least, and I hope to see you soon in another of this year-end videos. We do a lot of them, and I think they're fun to watch and fun to read. All these lists and newspapers and magazines on the internet about the best books of the year, the best crime fiction. Actually, crime fiction, that could be interesting to make a video about, like 10 books of the crime fiction that I found interesting in 2024. Should I do that? I will do it. Okay, see you soon and bye-bye.